Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it's been a very long time that I was not able to shoot a video because I was shifting my house in Dublin. So now we are again going to continue our system design topic playlist, and in this video we are going to study about three-phase commit. I'll just recommend all of you to please watch my previous video in which we have covered about the two-phase commit. So let's get started. So before we study three-phase commit, let's first revise two-phase commit one more time. We'll just like spend 2-3 minutes on it and then we'll directly jump to three-phase commit. So what two-phase commit tell us? That there are going to be two phases. First is going to be the preparation phase and the second is going to be the commit phase. So let's understand it with the help of one example. So let's say in our distributed system, there are going to be three services in our case: order service, inventory service and the payment service. Okay, so order service will create the order, inventory service is going to deduct the inventory, and the process service, or let's say payment service, is going to process the payment. Okay, so now let's understand what is going to happen in our two-phase commit. So suppose first of all I'm going to take a normal case. In this normal case, try to understand. First of all, in the preparation phase, there is going to be one coordinator. Okay, so coordinator means that there is going to be one central service. It means that there is going to be a user who will send the request to the coordinator service. Okay, when the request will reach the coordinator service, now the coordinator service will take the control and now it will send the request to the order service, inventory service and our payment service. Here if you will see that I mentioned here that we are reserving. First of all, in the first step, reserve means that we are preparing our transaction. Okay, when our reserve is completed, what we are going to do, we are going to commit this transaction. Okay, so it means first of all, in the first step we reserve the transaction. Okay, and in the second step we commit the transaction. This is how we perform the transaction in the two phase. So we discussed about the problems in our two phase commit, that maybe the problem can be the coordinator can fail. Okay, so this is our single point of failure in our two phase commit. Secondly, we studied about if one service says no in the preparation phase. So for example, so let's say our order service says yes, but after that the inventory service says no. Why will the inventory service say no? It can say no because let's say inventory service is down, or there is any issue going on, maybe there is no space in the database. There can be n number of reasons why inventory service can say no. In this case, there is not a big problem because we will just return no, and the coordinator now knows very well that this transaction cannot happen because inventory service is saying no right now. Okay, so when the inventory service says no, we will simply say that this transaction is not possible. We didn't reach to this commit step. Okay, so this is how two-phase commit saves the transaction, saves the space, save the memory and every single thing. We just roll back from this place. Okay, so this is the power of the two-phase commit. The thing is, the only problem, if you'll notice, is that we have this reserve entry in our database when the order service, but it is not a very big problem. We can just remove it after some time. What can be the code in that situation? Let's say for example, if we have one if we have a reserve entry and there is no reserve entry regarding in the inventory service or in the payment service, so we can find these kind of entries later on and we can delete that. Okay, so this is what we have studied in our two-phase commit. Okay, and there is one more last scenario that we have covered in our two-phase commit, that is that if the reserves are fine, it means our preparation phase works perfectly, and after that, while we are committing, let's say this commit fails. Okay, it means while we are inputting the values in our payment service database, this commit fails. In that case, what will happen? Our payment service will return to our coordinator, and the coordinator will roll back the date transactions from the inventory service and from the order service. Okay, this is what we were doing in our two-phase commit. This thing we have already covered. If the coordinator crashes, it means that it is going to be a single point of failure. And now these are the pros and cons. Okay, so it provides a strong consistency, atomic distribution transaction, like we are able to do the transaction, and there are the rollback features in a two-phase commit, but there are some problems in it, and maybe some of these problems are going to be solved in our three-phase commit. Okay, so the cons are going to be the single point of failure, blocking problem. Okay, so the thing is that these three transactions are going to be blocked till the time we are doing all these three things. Okay, so like 6 statements, 6 rows are going to be blocked. Okay, poor scalability. Think of it that there are going to be only three services. Let's say there can be n number of services, let's say there can be 10 services or 20 services, then it is going to be a very big chance that there can be failure, like any of the transaction will not be able to complete if one of the services failing. Okay, and the long log duration, and these are the problems in our two-phase commit that we have covered in detail in our previous video. Now let's move to the three-phase commit. We need to do this revision because it was necessary to understand three-phase commit. So this is a three-phase commit and it is very easy to understand. So in the three-phase commit, first of all, let's move to the definition. The three-phase commit in a distributed transaction protocol that add pre-commit phase. Okay, so what that means is in our two-phase commit we are having two phases. First one is going to be the prepare phase and the last is going to be the commit phase. In the three-phase commit we have one more phase that is known as the pre-commit. Again, we are into our distributed system. We will take the same example that there is going to be an order service, inventory service and the process payment service, or like a payment service. Now I want you to focus on this whole diagram. That first of all, again the user will come, create an order, the request will reach to the coordinator. So the first thing is that if the request is reaching to the coordinator, then I want you to understand one thing very clearly, that if the request is reaching to the coordinator, it means that it is a common service, like it is going to be a single point of failure one more time. So we know very well that we are studying three-phase commit, but we are perfectly sure that three-phase commit don't solve the problem of single point of failure. So it means the three-phase commit has the problem of the single point of failure. Okay, now what it is solving, let's see. After that, the first phase is going to be the reserve phase. Okay, very similar to our two-phase commit. Okay, first of all, the request will come to the coordinator. The coordinator will send the request to the order service, inventory service and the payment service. So what is going to happen, that order service will say yes, space is available, payment inventory service will say yes, payment service will say yes. So that after that we can move to our next state. Now the thing is that what happened, let's say if the one of the inventory service say no, that we cannot reserve the transaction, then we will simply say this transaction is not possible and we will not do anything. Okay, so this reserve phase is very similar to the two-phase commit. Coordinator phase, single point of failure is very similar. Both the things are very similar to our two-phase commit. Okay, I think this thing is very clear. Now comes to the pre-commit phase. Okay, this pre-commit phase and the commit phase requests are going to be similar. Okay, and so let's say if I is going to send xyz data into my pre-commit phase to my order service, or let's say xyz data to inventory service or xyz data to payment service, same data I'm going to send into the commit as well. Okay, same request, that is what I'm trying to say. But there is only difference, that pre-commit phase comes with a timeout. Okay, what is the need of a timeout, we will understand it. This is the only difference, that pre-commit phase has a timeout and the commit phase don't have a timeout. Let's come back. After the reserve service, what is going to happen, the coordinator will send the request to the pre-commit. So all the databases will make the proper entries into their databases with the status, let's say pre-commit, and there is a timeout value that all the services are maintaining. So order service is going to maintain one timeout of that particular row of 30 seconds. Inventory service is going to make a timeout, set a timeout, okay, of let's say 30 seconds, and the payment service is again 30 seconds. Okay, why this 30 seconds, or let's say we can take x amount, x we can take any time. Okay, for example 5 minutes as well. So it means that these services, order services, inventory service and the payment service, now know very well that there is going to be any new request is going to come in less than 30 seconds or less than 5 minutes, whatever the time we set. Okay, if the request come, we will mark it as commit. It means that our services are working perfectly. Okay, if the request comes in less than 30 seconds or less than 5 minutes, it means that our everything is working perfectly. But if the request didn't come in less than 30 seconds or in less than 5 minutes, whatever time we set, then we know that our services, order service, inventory service and the payment service, one of the service maybe is not responding. Let's say order service request come in less than 30 seconds, it means it is perfect, we mark it as commit, perfectly working. Inventory service request come in less than 30 seconds, we mark it as commit, perfectly fine. But let's say payment service request didn't come in less than 30 seconds, then there is a catch. We will mark it as commit. Okay, so I'll just write it down. Here, I'll just write it down here. We will still mark it as commit. Why we'll mark it as commit? As I told you that pre-commit requests and the commit requests are going to be same. Okay, but pre-commit is going to act as a safety layer. Okay, it means that after this point, okay, after this point maybe the payment service is down. Okay, so what is going to happen in that scenario, that after this point our payment service is down, so our commit request will not come in less than 30 seconds. So now we know very well that we will mark it to the commit. Okay, and now we can raise one error to our system, or we can raise an alert that the payment service is down. And this is how three-phase commit will help you to fix the system fast. Okay, because now we know that this payment service is not working, in and it is not able to send the commit request in less than 30 seconds. Okay, so now we know that the payment service is not working, but our transaction is completed. Like we secured this transaction. Okay, so we secured this transaction, we completed this transaction. Of course this transaction is going to take less than of course this transaction is going to take more than 30 seconds, because this particular thing will take more than 30 seconds because the payment service is not working. But the transaction will complete, and the payment service, and we have alert also that this payment service is not working after 30 seconds. Okay, so this is how the three-phase commit works. One more thing that I wanted to tell you, like two-phase commit, we also don't use three-phase commit. We are studying all these things to understand better patterns like saga pattern, orthodox pattern. So to study all these patterns, we are just making our base strong. That's why we are studying these things. So these are the two basic things that we have just studied, that the pre-commit exists to inform participants that everyone has agreed to commit. Okay, that's why we use pre-commit, that there is going to be a transaction, everyone has confirmed it, and if the coordinator crashes, then they can safely decide what to do. Okay, here I missed one thing that we can discuss one more time, that let's say after this pre-commit, okay, let's say the coordinator crashes. Okay, now again there is a better thing, that if there the pre-commit request is reached, okay, to the order service and the inventory service and to the payment service, now we know that after 30 seconds we can complete those transactions. Okay, because the request is properly reached to all this service. Okay, they don't have to return back anything, they can just simply after 30 seconds, if they don't get a commit request because coordinator has crashed. Okay, we are discussing about if the coordinator is crashed, then they can simply commit it after 30 seconds. The only catch is there is a simple flaw in it again, that after this pre-commit request, okay, let's say coordinator crashes in this place. Now what will happen? After this order service request is going to be committed in after 30 seconds, but this is going to be a wrong entry. Okay, order service entry is going to be a wrong entry because there is no inventory service entry, there is no payment service entry. Again, this is a flaw of three-phase commit. Okay, we covered this point as well. Now the only thing is that in this three-phase commit we have this timeout mechanism that we have discussed, we have discussed this point that we can set any time in our three-phase commit. This is all about it. It is not a very big topic, just a revision we have did of two-phase commit, and we just studied like there is a pre-commit phase comes into our three-phase commit. Okay, and I don't think so there is like we should do like lot of discussion on it. We have like lot more patterns coming in a way. So this is it for the video, and we will meet in our next video where maybe we're going to study about the saga pattern. So thank you for watching me, and we will meet in our next video, and bye bye. Have a good day.